Chapter 1565. The Jiuqian attack from above could only be described as terrifying. However, Lu Chen's figure disappeared. His sword did not even emit a sword light. The incomparably huge sky-split tower phantom was pierced through by something from the top, and the phantom collapsed layer by layer. Boom, 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 boom. Every layer of the sky-split tower collapsed, causing a loud noise that shook the world. The collapse of every layer triggered the collapse of the surrounding space. In less than half a second, the thousands of meters of sky-split tower phantom was completely destroyed. In the blink of an eye, a figure suddenly appeared 10 meters behind sky-split demon fiend, with his back facing him. In the sky, the sky-split tower phantom turned into ruins and fell down. The space was still collapsing, but there seemed to be no other sound between heaven and earth. After a long time, when the sky-split tower phantom dissipated into spiritual energy and the world returned to normal, only two people were left standing back to back. No, impossible. Sky-split demon fiend was still in his sword stance, but his eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. He muttered to himself, "Impossible, you can't defeat me." Divine Calamity and 10,000 Demons Purgatory are already the strongest moves of demon god defying fate. Where did Lawless come from? Behind him, Lu Chen calmly withdrew his move and said, "When the two combine into one, it becomes Lawless. You can't possibly comprehend it in such a short time." "Sorry, I just comprehended it." Lu Chen calmly turned around, the corners of his mouth slightly raised. "Speaking of which, I have to thank you. If not for you, I might not have been able to comprehend the ultimate move of demon god defying fate. You always said that I was helping you, but now it seems that you got it the other way around." Sky-split Demonfien's mouth twitched. So, he was the stepping stone? After waiting for thousands of years, he had actually helped Lu Chen? With a pop, a hole exploded in Sky-split Demonfien's chest, and magma flowed inside. This was Lu Chen's unique move. He integrated the underworld's fire into his attack, burning the enemy's body and spirit core. Sky-split demon fiend turned around with difficulty and stared at Lu Chen, but Lu Chen only looked back indifferently. "Lu Chen, the heavenly demon fiend's breathing quickened. He tried his best to suppress his anger so that it wouldn't affect his wounds. "You can't kill me. You're wrong about one thing. Even if I transform, you still can't kill me. If worst comes to worst, I'll just abandon my physical body and live as the consciousness of the Tong Tian Tower once again. I lost to you this time, but I can wait for a few thousand years or even tens of thousands of years. When I transform again, I will become even stronger. At that time, I will personally tear you into pieces." Lu Chen frowned slightly. Was this guy unkillable? That would be a little troublesome. He didn't seem to have any way to subdue the heavenly demonic fiend's consciousness. "How is it? You didn't expect it, right?" "Ha ha ha. Lu Chen, I already said that I am the master of Jiuqian. Only I can decide the fate of others. It's impossible for you to kill me. When I transform again, I will use 10,000 ways to torture all of your clansmen to death. None of your descendants will be able to escape. I will make them wish they were dead." "Ha ha!" Before Skirich could finish laughing, his vision suddenly turned black, and even his voice became muffled. "Ha ha! This is..." Heavenly demon fiend looked at the boundless darkness around him and suddenly panicked. Then his body was pulled downwards by an irresistible force towards a black hole. Finally, heaven-span demonic fiend seemed to have thought of something and became alarmed all of a sudden. "Yes, devour, devour. No, let me out." Lu Chen blinked his eyes and looked at the burping furball. "Can you digest this?" The little furball shrunk its body and jumped onto Lu Chen's shoulder. It stood up and patted its belly with a face full of confidence. Squeak, 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 squeak. Don't forget that it was a sky-devouring, god-slaying rat which could devour Zhou. However, digesting the heavenly demonic fiend would take some time. He probably wouldn't need to eat for a few decades. Lu Chen frowned and said, "Then if he is slowly digested by you, won't he be tortured for decades?" The little furball nodded. That was the case. Only then did Lu Chen relax. "That's good. Digest it slowly." I said that I would tear him into pieces. And I went back on my word again. You have to help me regain some face. Otherwise, I won't feel good about it. The little furball patted its chest and squeaked. As long as it ate well, it could delay digesting the heaven-span demonic fiend by a few hundred years. Lu Chen couldn't help but laugh and grab the little furball in his hand. "Little guy, I can't afford to feed you now. You'd better find your own food, but just eat on an uninhabited planet." The group watched Lu Chen and the little furball chatting and laughing, unable to come to their senses for a long time. The heaven-span demonic fiend that was so smug a moment ago was eaten by the little furball in one bite. No, the furball could only be called by Lu Chen. It was a sky-devouring, god-slaying rat. As they spoke, Lu Chen suddenly felt dizzy. "Little furball, I am a little tired." Before he could finish speaking, Lu Chen fell from the sky. The people on the ground panicked. "Quick, catch the mad god." When Lu Chen woke up, he found himself lying in a room in his villa. Only Lu Yi was in the room. "Brother, you're awake." When Lu Yi saw Lu Chen open his eyes, she immediately threw herself into Lu Chen's arms and cried nonstop. "Brother, you scared me to death." Sob, sob, sob. Lu Chen patted Lu Yi's head. "Silly girl, I'm just too tired." I know, but I was just worried about you." Lu Chen sat up with a smile. "Did you send me back?" Lu Yi nodded. "Many people wanted to see you, but I chased them away. You need to rest now." Lu Chen asked around. "Chased away?" "Yes, but many people didn't return to Zhou. They're helping rebuild Earth." "Rebuild Earth?" Lu Chen scratched his head. "Yes, although the battle between you and the heavenly demonic specter wasn't on the surface, but the aftershocks were too great. The entire Earth has long been changed beyond recognition. More than 2 floors of buildings around the world have collapsed, the continental plates have shifted, volcanoes have revived, and seawater has flooded coastal cities. Oh, right, the biggest impact is that the moon has been eaten by the furball. This..." Lu Chen didn't expect himself to cause such a big mess. "They're not here to ask me for compensation, are they?" Lu Yi was amused by Lu Chen. "Brother, how is that possible? Without you, Earth wouldn't even exist. It's just that every country is planning to rebuild the world. Speaking of which, you left behind a lot of spiritual energy from your battle with Tong Tian. Now, the spiritual energy on Earth is extremely abundant. Now, many countries are supporting the transformation of Earth into a martial arts world. Perhaps this disaster reconstruction is also an opportunity. It's just that after the moon is gone, the natural climate of Earth will be greatly affected. Huaxia's netizens are saying that it's a big loss. There won't even be a mid-autumn festival in the future." Lu Chen thought about it and said, "This isn't difficult to solve. Tell Li Muhua that when I recover in a few days, I'll give you a moon." Chapter 1566. A few days later, Lu Chen was jumping between the stars with Little Beast and the others. "Dad, how's that planet?" "It's similar to the information you found." Little Beast pointed at a small planet and said, Lu Chen compared some moon data he found on the internet and found that it was roughly the same. It should work. The main function of the moon is to provide gravity and reflect sunlight at night. This can be replaced. Everyone warned Little Furball in unison, "Little Furball, this is the 3rd one. Don't eat it this time." Little Furball nodded seriously, and swallowed the planet for the time being. After a few rounds, Lu Chen wrapped the planet in his soul shield and took a group of astronomers to the moon's orbit, according to the moon's orbit time. If the moon was still there, this should be the position now, a scientist from Huaxia said. Lu Chen nodded and asked Little Furball to spit out the planet. Professor Chen, do you think this planet is okay? The position is correct, right? The mass and density of the planet are almost the same as the original moon. Mad God, where did you find this asteroid? Lu Chen scratched his head. I don't remember. Anyway, I went to several galaxies. Anyway, I found it according to the data you gave me. Take a look at the position again. Wait a moment, Mad God. Let's calculate. It's 21. 75 kilometers closer. Okay. Is there any problem with the orbit and rotation? Don't worry about that. The mass, density, and volume of this planet are similar to the moon. Under the interaction of gravity and magnetic field, it will soon enter the right orbit. Lu Chen didn't understand these things. Anyway, he just listened to Professor Chen. After some adjustments, the new moon finally returned to its original position. Ha ha ha. Now the Earth's tides and the planet's orbit can be returned to normal. Professor Chen let out a long sigh of relief. Lu Chen also breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it was solved. Otherwise, the Earth's climate would change drastically and become unsuitable for human habitation. That would be troublesome. After returning to Earth, Professor Chen saw that Lu Chen was about to leave and quickly walked up to him. Mad God, can you give me an autograph? Looking at the pen and paper that Professor Chen handed over, Lu Chen smiled slightly. Professor Chen, are you a fan of celebrities too? I'm not a celebrity. Professor Chen scratched his head in embarrassment. Mad God, don't be so humble. Of course you're not a celebrity. You're the Jiuqian god of war. My whole family, especially my grandson, is your biggest admirer. When he found out that I could see you this time, he was so excited that he didn't sleep for a few days. He insisted that I get your autograph. Lu Chen smiled. How old is your grandson? 16 years old. His cultivation aptitude is not very good, but he has been working hard. He has been looking up to you as his role model since he was 10 years old. It was you who gave him motivation. Lu Chen was a little surprised. After thinking about it, he pushed the pen and paper back. Professor Chen was a little embarrassed. It seemed that Mad God didn't want to sign his autograph. Lu Chen took out a badge from his backpack and handed it to Professor Chen. I don't think it's meaningful to sign anything. Give this to your grandson. When Professor Chen saw what Lu Chen was holding, his hands began to tremble with excitement. There were a few words written on the badge. 9 stars while divine demon, human sovereign realm, variant. Zhou Qian could only recognize the human sovereign realm at most, and Lu Chen's badge stopped at that level. However, this badge was still unique in the entire Zhou Qian. As long as this badge was mentioned, everyone would know that this badge belonged to only one person, the Zhou Qian god of war, who defied the heavens and changed his fate as a mortal. This is too precious. Lu Chen smiled and placed the badge in Professor Chen's hands. This thing is useless to me. I'll have to trouble you with the new moon. Professor Chen, if you need me for anything, call me at any time. After saying that, Lu Chen turned and left. Professor Chen held the badge with both hands and stared blankly at the back of the man who was leaving. Now, that man was standing at the peak of all races. However, if he didn't reveal his identity, who would believe that the Jiuqian god of war was so approachable? Mad God, no wonder you have so many good brothers by your side. Professor Chen looked at the badge in his hands with tears in his eyes. Lu Chen didn't go home directly. He was drinking with Balrog, Yifan, Mulong, Gying, Yuming, Withered Claw, Bale Mountain, Cowherd. In short, a large group of people was drinking in a small bar. Lu Chun, Lu, you said you haven't been home for a few days. Now that the moon matter is settled, why don't you go back? Mulong asked. The beer on Earth doesn't taste that good. Do you usually drink this? Lu Chun wasn't in the mood to answer about the beer. He held his head with a frown. Gying shook his head and looked at Lu Chun with an angry expression. You have so many beauties waiting for you at home, and you're drinking here? That's what I'm worried about. Lu Chun held his head. Sai, to be honest, I'm a person who's good at relationships. It's ridiculous that I'm worried about women. With a puff, Balrog spat out the beer in his mouth. Lu Chun, you still have the nerve to say you're good at relationships. If you're good at relationships, why are you still worrying about it? Balrog shook his head and looked at Lu Chun. Lu Chun also shook his head. Balrog, you don't know how dangerous my family is now. Last time, when I just recovered, those people kept asking me when I was going to get married. Whoever I marry will hurt their hearts. Cowherd asked from the side, Brat, how many lovers do you have? Let me count. Mu Sheng, Lung Nuo, Feng Lingzi, Jiu Er, Jingguo Yanran, Luo Yao, Ning Shuang, Tian Xianer, Beishua Qingling, Li Wei, Ling Long, 11. I already said that my master is a Casanova, but you didn't believe me. Now you see it. Yifan was very excited. On average, there's more than one in each layer of heaven. Yifan, just shut up. The one I admire the most isn't your master, but you. Mulong couldn't help but say, Hey, did you know? During the battle with the heavenly demon fiend, Lu Chen, didn't you let Yifan bet on you winning? Yifan raised his head and looked at Mulong in surprise. Yeah, could it be that this brat bet on me losing? No, he bet on you winning. Mulong continued, but the Black Armor King changed the rules. The Black Armor King was afraid that Yifan's luck would cause you to die, so he made a special rule that there would only be a reward if he guessed wrongly. So Yifan guessed right this time, but he'll still count the money. Lu Chun was speechless. It seemed that the Black Armor King still believed in Yifan's luck more. Forget it, this brat's fortune. I'm afraid I won't be able to carry it. Guing said, Back to the topic, Lu Chen, don't worry about it. You're afraid that someone will be sad. Why don't you just marry them all? Marry them all? Lu Chen frowned. Won't they chop me to death? A woman's jealousy is indeed a little scary, but try it. At most, you can just run. They won't be able to catch you anyway. Lu Chen took a deep breath. It seemed that this was the only way. Chapter 1567. The moon returned to its original position. At night, people could finally see the bright moon above their heads. Under the moonlight, Lu Chen returned to his villa. Lu Chen, do you want me to accompany you? After all, I have some experience in this kind of thing, Mulong said. Lu Chen looked at Mulong with disdain. This guy hadn't even settled Feng Wu yet, and he had the nerve to say that. Forget it, I'll solve it myself. Yes, Master will definitely be fine. Yifan said with certainty. Master, we'll wait for your good news. Standing in front of the villa and hesitating for a moment, Lu Chen summoned up his courage and walked in. When he pushed the door open, he saw a dozen beauties sitting in the living room. When these beauties turned around to look at the door, Lu Chen was stunned. The women here had different temperaments, but each of them could be said to be a peerless beauty. Their figures, temperaments, and appearances could be said to be perfect. These women had been staying in Lu Chen's house for 2 days and had actually become familiar with each other. When Lu Chen went to find the moon, they were already very familiar with each other. In fact, most of them had a lot of interactions, but their relationship seemed a little complicated. Lung Nuo and Feng Lingzi were Quanlungs and Jiu Lingshuang, and Yanren were very close to them. Luo Yao was originally the Yao Emperor of the Eastern Peak Country, and she had also spent a lot of time with Quanglong, Zhou, and Ling Shuang. Later, she went to the Sixth Heaven and cultivated in the Immortal Academy. She was then exchanged to the Fenglai Academy, where she met Li Wei and Tian Xin. Linglong and Zhu had been together for many years in the Ninth Heaven and were already like sisters. Mu Sheng had helped Linglong escape from the Myriad World Maze and had given her a cultivation method. These layers of relationships made these women seem to have found a confidant. They chatted enthusiastically, and no one noticed that Lu Chun was already standing at the door. "Sister Bone Demon, you should have come earlier," Jiao said angrily. "We discussed it 2 days ago. This time, we can't let him escape." "That's right. You have to give us an answer." Bone Demon was a little embarrassed and whispered, "Brother Lu Chen doesn't seem to like me. I'm an undead. For a long time, Brother Lu Chen saw my true form. It's all right." Mu Sheng smiled. "So what if I'm an undead? I'm a tree demon. Don't underestimate a man's tolerance." Bone Demon was here too, and from what they said, it seemed like they were the ones who asked her to come. Lu Chen's mind buzzed. 12. Louis walked in with tea. "Sisters, please drink some water." "Jiao, pull Louis over." "Big Sister Lu, don't be so busy. You're no longer Big Brother Lu Chen's battle pet. You have to learn how to fight for your own happiness. It's already the Ninth Heaven. If Big Brother Lu Chen doesn't give us an explanation this time, I don't know how long we will have to wait." Little Green. Why are they instigating Little Green? Speaking of which, Little Green had been with him for so long. He was not used to not having her by his side. Lu Yi now had a true form and was no longer trying to be Lu Chen's battle pet. He could consider it, but Xiao Min was his daughter, and Xiao Min was calling Little Green Big Sister. Wasn't this a little messy? Lu Chen stood at the door, without saying a word. He felt like his head was about to explode. Seeing that Little Green had no intention of refusing, that meant there were 13. Lu Chen suddenly regretted it. If he married all of them, he secretly calculated in his mind. 7 days a week, 2 a day. He could only rest for half a day a week. He could only rest for 2 days a month. There were 365 days a year. He could only rest for 24 days. Unknowingly, a few drops of cold sweat appeared on Lu Chen's forehead. But this was not the point. These women were still instigating more people to join. This was the most terrifying thing. Their tolerance was exceptionally good. In terms of realm, there were immortal cultivators, immortals, and gods. Feng Lingzi was the weakest here, but the others did not look at her in a different light. They chatted and laughed with her. In terms of race, there were all kinds of people. Humans, undead, heavenly foxes, tree demons, spirit ghosts, Lung Nua side. Sisters, in the blink of an eye, it has been nearly 100 years. Everyone has waited for so long. These years must have not been easy. These words resonated strongly with these women, and their eyes glistened with tears. Falling in love with Lu Chen was also a misfortune. He had a reason to go to the Ninth Heaven, but these women chased after him bitterly, only to realize that the gap between them and Lu Chen was getting wider and wider. Perhaps it was because they understood the pain of waiting too well that they saw each other as bosom friends. Luo Yao gritted her teeth and said fiercely, "So this time we must not let him run away." Cough, cough. I am not planning to run away." A voice suddenly sounded at the door. Everyone hurriedly looked at the door and realized that the person they had been waiting for was standing at the door. Lu Chen sighed and walked over. His gaze fell on these peerless beauties one by one. 100 years had passed, but he still remembered every story he had with them. The matter in the ninth heaven is over. I should stop now. Lu Chen smiled. If you don't mind, then I will marry you. Although it was a bit tiring, everyone here was worthy of Lu Chen's cherish. Tears fell from Jiu Er's bright eyes. She sobbed. Do you know how long we have been waiting for you to say this? 3 days later, Lu Chen's wedding. Because Lu Chen had many friends in the fifth heaven, Lu Chen set the wedding banquet on earth. When the news came out, the whole world exploded. Lu Chen's intention was to have a simple wedding banquet and invite some of his close friends. However, on the day of the wedding banquet, the entire Jiang city exploded. Thousands of TV stations were blocked outside the venue of the wedding banquet. However, they were still broadcasting the scene crazily. Ladies and gentlemen, the venue behind you is the venue of Mad God's wedding banquet. Although Jiang City is still in ruins, the lively wedding banquet added to the festive atmosphere. I heard that only 400 people received Mad God's invitation. However, according to the news we received, the portals on Earth have not stopped working since 3 days ago. A large number of people are rushing to Earth. I wonder who will be lucky enough to attend Mad God's wedding banquet today. The bride is welcoming the guests. The 13 brides are so beautiful. Until now, we have not seen Mad God himself. Now that the skyscrapers were gone, the high-end restaurants were gone too. Lu Chen's wedding banquet was held in an open area with tables, chairs, and cutlery. It was like a 100-family banquet in a village. Qian Ji shook his head as he placed the cutlery. Looking at the bustling scene, Qian Ji let out a long sigh. Lu Chen, that guy is married. Speaking of which, I'm actually helping out at Lu Chen's wedding banquet. Fate was truly making fools of people. Chapter 1568. Suddenly, Guing looked at Qian Ji curiously. Qian Ji, how did you become like this? Qian Ji raised his head and looked at Guing. Lu Chen gave the Earth Guardian to Yi Fan. Although Qian Ji's body was much weaker than the Earth Guardian, he was more like a normal person now. He actually met someone he knew in the seventh heaven. Guing was also helping out. Seeing that Qian Ji was alone, he came over and asked softly, Qian Ji, have you been to the ninth heaven? Yeah. Qian Ji continued to set the table expressionlessly. Others may be lazy, but he, Qian Ji, would never dare to be lazy. What's it like over there? Nothing much. It's very normal. Ah, really? Guing opened his eyes wide. He was not on the same channel as Qian Ji. Qian Ji, is there a gate in the ninth heaven called the Gate of Heaven? Where does it lead to? Qian Ji frowned and said impatiently, how would I know? Anyway, the heavenly demonized spirit is transformed by the creatures that come out of the Gate of Heaven. Doesn't that mean that the other side of the Gate of Heaven is a world that is stronger than the Jiuqian? Guing was excited. Oh my God, I really want to go to the Jiuqian. A world that is stronger than the Jiuqian. What kind of world is that? If I could go there and see it, my life would not be in vain. Will Lu Chen go there? Qian Ji looked at Guing angrily. I am not a roundworm in Lu Chen's stomach. How would I know? Move aside. If Lu Chen sees this, I will be punished again. Qian Ji walked to another table and started to get busy. After Guing left, Qian Ji had a strange feeling in his heart. They say that the solipsistic spirit is the only person who entered the Jiuqian. Wait, I've been there before too. I was at most an immortal. But now, I've been to the Jiuqian. Looking at Gu Ying's envious gaze, it feels good. Also, would solipsistic go to the heavenly gate that Guing mentioned? Just when Qian Ji was pondering, the crowd suddenly exclaimed. Lu Chen was back. However, this time, he brought someone back with him. The instigator of Project Mentor, Lu Chun, and Lu Yi's father, Lu Yuan. Grandfather. Lu Yuan looked at the first person who ran over to call him and frowned. I am Lu Shou, Dad's eldest son. Little Beastie introduced itself skillfully and did not forget to call out to its younger siblings. Lu Yao, Lu Min, come here. Lu Chen was speechless at the side. The little critter was really not shy with strangers. Chenner, you already have 3 children? But why are you only getting married now? Lu Chun hesitated for a long time. Dad, it's a little hard to explain. I'll tell you next time. Lu Yi, Gufei, Xiaoyi, come here. Lu Yi's family also walked over. Seeing Lu Yi, Lu Yuan's eyes were already filled with tears. You've already grown so big. Dad. Lu Yi's eyes were filled with tears. Gufei smiled. Today is Big Brother's big day. Our family has joined forces. Don't cry. Lu Yi nodded heavily. She held back her tears and supported Lu Yuan. The wedding banquet was about to start. Suddenly, auspicious clouds appeared in the sky. One by one, huge figures descended from the clouds. Everyone, this is the descent of the gods. It's the primordial Buddha, Wu Yi sword body, Hunyuan heavenly Tao. The ancient gods are here too. And Pangu, Nuwa, Jio, the moment Pangu arrived, he flashed out of the wedding banquet. Lu Chen, you didn't even invite me to your wedding? Jio followed closely behind. Little Lu Chen, you did not do it properly. It's fine if Panga didn't invite you, but you didn't invite me, Jio. We are all chaos spirit cores. We have a lot in common. Jio, what do you mean? What do you mean by it's fine if you don't invite me? Can he not invite me? I'm his master. Master my ass. How are you his master? I taught him Genesis. Of course, I'm his master. Lu Chun was exasperated. The two of them were arguing again. He hurried over. Can the two of you stop arguing? No, I'm just getting married. I have to go to the turbulent flow to invite both of you seniors. Isn't that making a mountain out of a molehill? The wedding doesn't matter. The key is that you didn't think of me. Panga said, anyway, hurry up and arrange a place for me. Me too. Don't make me rely on Pangu. Juyo added. Lu Chen held his forehead. All right. It doesn't matter if there are a few more people. Hurry up and get someone to arrange it. However, the two of them were easy to arrange. The 10 ancient gods were really difficult to handle, with the nightmare taper's size. The only thing that could fit it was probably the furball's stomach. Congratulations, my young friend Lu Chen, the nightmare taper said. We're just here to watch. You don't have to worry about us. Lu Chen was still having a headache about how to arrange the 10 ancient gods when Little Beast ran over again. Dad, give me 20,000 places. Huh. Lu Chen's eyes widened. He had only invited a total of 400 people, but Little Beast wanted 20,000 places the moment it opened its mouth. What do you want 20,000 places for? Little Beast scratched its head in embarrassment. Didn't you say to invite some family members and close friends? Cough, cough. Rhubarb said calmly from the side. Isn't Little Beast's family your family, boss? There aren't many, just 20,000. Lu Chen almost broke down. 20,000. Little Beast chuckled. Dad, don't misunderstand. Actually, I only have around 1,000 wives. However, some of them already have my children, which are your grandchildren. Plus, I have to bring some family members. Before I know it, there are 24,000 places. Lu Chun held his forehead. When it comes to reproduction, Little Beast is still the best. Dad, my classmate begged me for a long time. He said that he could just watch from the outside. Lu Yao also ran over. Which classmate? Male or female? Female. Female? Why didn't you say so earlier? Then let them in. Lu Chen said. Hun, she also rushed over from outer space. Lu Chen had to go and greet him again, following which Quan Lang's people, representatives of the country of origin, Saintis, Dongyu country's people, Wood Manor's people, National Army's people, group after group came. Moreover, the number of people who came far exceeded the quota that Lu Chen had given them. Seeing that the number of guests had far exceeded their expectations, Lu Chen had no choice but to let old Haikal, the disciples of God Devil Immortal Academy, over to help. As a result, there were 10,000 more people. The heads of various countries came one after another. The immortals in the immortal spirit grotto heaven, eighth layer deities, and the number of people at the wedding was completely out of control. Jiu helped Lu Chen wipe the sweat on his forehead and said with a smile, "Hubby, don't worry. It's better to be lively." Hubby? Lu Chen looked at Jiu, and couldn't help but smile. This title sounded much more comfortable than Lu Chen's gitch. Hubby, Kong Luo Yao and the others had just finished greeting the guests. When they saw Lu Chen, they all walked over. That old husband must be tired. Drink some water. Lu Yi almost called him boss. Fortunately, she changed her words in time. Looking at these beautiful and gentle wives, Lu Chen also felt that the hard work was worth it. In the end, under the efforts of all parties, the wedding finally went smoothly. Finally, at night, it was time to enter the bridal chamber. In the newly decorated bridal chamber, Lu Chen looked at the 13 delicate brides. Suddenly, he opened the window and shouted outside, "Don't think that I don't know you are outside. If you don't leave, there will be no law and no heaven to serve you." There was a commotion. The group of people led by Rhubarb, Little Featherball, Little Yuan, and Little Golden Carp slipped away as if they were fleeing. Lu Chen sensed that no one was squatting in the corner. Finally, he let out a sigh of relief. However, when he turned around, he found that the 13 brides were looking at him. He suddenly panicked. The wedding night was worth 1,000 gold. At such a crucial moment, Lu Chen couldn't favor one and discriminate against the other. "Isn't it just 13? Lu Chen let out a low shout. God and demon symbiosis. He activated God form. "Time is tight. You all come together." Chapter 1569. The next morning, Lu Chen woke up early and put on his clothes. He turned around and looked at his sleeping wives. It seemed like they were tired from last night and were now sleeping soundly. Lu Chen did not wake them up and carefully went out. Lu Yi and the rest seemed to know that tonight was destined to be an extraordinary night, so they moved to the villa next door last night. Lu Chen came to their residence and saw Lu Yao sitting alone in the courtyard. Seeing Lu Chen coming over, Lu Yao hurriedly stood up. "Dad." Lu Chen smiled. "Your female classmate isn't from Earth, right? I saw her yesterday." And Lu Yao was a little embarrassed. "She's a mixed blood." Lu Chen smiled and looked at Lu Yao. "You like her?" Lu Yao was even more embarrassed. "A little, but I don't know if she likes me." Lu Chen smiled and took out 2 sets of clothes from his backpack. "This is for you." "This is couple set." "This is the only set of couple set I know of in Jiutian." Lu Chen said. "Anyway, I won't be using it." Lu Yao also understood that this set of clothes was not suitable for any stepmother. "Thank you, Dad." "Silly child, you're my son. What are you thanking me for?" Lu Chen smiled, but then he unconsciously kept his smile. It seemed that he had something on his mind. "Dad, do you want to go to the heavenly gate?" Lu Yao asked. Lu Chen did not comment. There seems to be an even stronger world outside the heavenly gate, but at this stage, I don't want to go to the heavenly gate anymore. These years, I've given up a lot. I also owe too many people. I want to spend more time with them. To be honest, No matter how many halos Lu Chen had, at least to him, he was not a good father. He spent too little time with his family. Furthermore, even heavenly devil fiends don't dare to enter the heavenly gate. I'm guessing that once we enter the heavenly gate, there will definitely be something we don't know. I've thought about it for a long time. At least, I don't plan to enter the heavenly gate in the near future. Lu Chen patted Lu Yao's shoulder. Yao, let me see if you've improved recently. Lu Yao blinked his eyes. Was his father going to guide him? This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The father and son sparred in the creation space created by Lu Chen. Not long after, Lu Yi, Gu Fei, and Zhu Yi walked out. When Xiaoyi saw her uncle and Lu Yao training, she hurriedly ran over. "Uncle, bring me along." Lu Chen smiled. "Zhu Yi, come in." Lu Chen did not forget to remind Lu Yi, cook more for lunch. There are many people at home. When Lu Yu saw this, she couldn't help but smile. Lu Yi leaned on Gu Fei's shoulder, her face full of satisfaction. "Hubby, my brother shouldn't be leaving for a while." Gu Fei hugged his wife and smiled. "Didn't you always tell me that sometimes you wish that Big Brother wasn't a solipsistic, but an ordinary person? Maybe in 10 or 20 years, it's not bad to be an ordinary family." Lu Yi's eyes were filled with tears as she nodded. Perhaps one day he will set off again to search for a higher peak of martial arts. But at least for now, I don't want him to leave. 3 days later, Lu Chen brought the 5 beasts and quietly returned to the 9th heaven. Standing in front of the huge light gate, Lu Chen looked at it in a daze. What was inside the gate of heaven? What was the world on the other side like? How strong were the experts on the other side? If he went in, what would he encounter? "Dad," little beast looked at Lu Chen. "Do you want to go in?" Lu Chen came back to his senses, hesitated for a moment, and shook his head. "I won't go in for 20 years. The primordial Buddha gave me the hidden dragon array talisman. Let's seal the gate of heaven first to prevent any changes in the future." Not long after, Lu Chen set up the array talisman. The light gate was directly sealed in the hidden dragon array, and even the light was blocked. However, Lu Chen was still not at ease. After thinking for a while, he raised his hand. The godly demon Limitless sword hung by his side. "Limitless, you guard this array." After saying that, Lu Chen waved his hand, and the godly demon Limitless sword shot out and stabbed into the main array core. In this way, with the connection between Lu Chen and the Limitless sword, as long as there was any change here, Lu Chen would be the first to detect it. After everything was settled, Lu Chen stood in front of the 9 portals. There were all portals from the 1st heaven to the 8th heaven here. From the 1st heaven to the 9th heaven, he finally finished walking the Jiutian path and finally stood at the peak of the Jiutian world. Thinking back to the 1,000 years of cultivation, to Lu Chen, the most fortunate thing was that he had chosen the path he wanted to walk, either change himself or change the world. Letting out a long breath, Lu Chen walked into the 9th portal, the portal to Earth, until Lu Chen's figure disappeared into the portal. The Limitless sword trembled slightly. A voice rang out in the empty 9 heavens domain. "Boss, I will wait for you to come back." The end of the book. After finishing the book, when Old Ming wrote the words "the end of the book," he suddenly felt a strong sense of loss. This book took me more than a year to write, more than 3 million words. At first, I only wrote an online novel, just like the other books that Old Ming had written, writing every day, without stopping. However, gradually, the people in the book came to life. Lu Chen, Little Critter, Yi Fan, Cowherd, Mulong, Black Armor King, even supporting characters like Qianji and Li Muhua, they all had their own personalities and their own consciousness. Just like what Kong once said in the assassination novel, perhaps the world in the novel also exists. They exist in another time and space, and they have their own lives, and I am only recording their stories. Now that the book is finished, there are too many things that I am reluctant to part with. However, to the author, it is also a form of relief. Damn, I finally don't have to write every day. I finally don't have to think about the plot every day. I can finally rest. Ha ha. I feel a bit deranged, of course, after calming down. Old Ming also knows that this book still has a lot of shortcomings and regrets. However, at least I have fulfilled my promise. I said that I will give everyone a more realistic Jotian world, and that everyone can follow Lu Chun on adventures, growth, and experiences. I guess I have fulfilled my promise. As for the Gate of Heaven, if some readers think that it is a bad ending, then let me explain. Readers who are familiar with Old Ming will know that I usually don't write too many endings and leave a trace of hope. Even if this book ends, Lu Chen's journey is not over. He will definitely challenge the Gate of Heaven in the future, and he still has his own life to live. I will leave it to your imagination. In the end, this book has ended, but Old Ming will continue to write new books. I expect to start a new book in May. At that time, I hope that everyone will still remember Old Ming, and Old Ming will continue to work hard to bring everyone a new and exciting, hopefully, story. Finally, thank you for your company. You're tuning in to the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.